no one is here. Once a place where hundreds of people were present, it is now in ruins. All machines, technological devices, no matter how valuable, have been left in their place. Recently, it has turned into a sanctuary for wild animals, despite being the world's largest research center. Only a few rare researchers visit here a few times a year. Apart from them, even those living in nearby settlements are changing because of the sounds they hear in this mysterious place. What caused these people to leave such a large center and abandon it as if running away? What was the thing that drove them to do this? Because this research center held a great secret. In 1970, Russian scientists decided to conduct research. Their goal was to dig a hole called the Kola superdeep borehole and bore through the Earth's crust to reach the deepest parts of the planet, revolutionizing underground research. However, what they encountered would cause the scientists to abruptly abandon the excavation, and in a completely unexpected way. While the world was watching, the purpose of the drilling project was to reach a point near the Earth's core, and of course, scientific estimates were made and potential obstacles were calculated. But unexpected things happened. In 1992, when they reached a depth of 12,000 meters, 12 kilometers, a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius was expected. However, when the thermometers recorded that the temperature had suddenly skyrocketed to 180 degrees Celsius, the scientists were shocked. This was impossible because what was present at that depth had already been examined with technological devices, and it had been calculated that it was impossible to exceed 100 degrees Celsius. The temperature being twice as high as expected raised the question of whether they were near a layer of lava, but an examination did not yield such a result. Interestingly, all of the technological devices in the research center malfunctioned on the day they reached that depth. One of the scientists involved in the drilling project was telling a story about how all of the workers' watches, even their wristwatches, stopped working, and he was amazed. But it didn't stop there. The husky breed dogs, which were used for protection to prevent wild animals from entering the area, were screaming as if they had gone insane. When the doors were opened, all the dogs ran away from the site. In those years, it was difficult to find a camera that could work in a 180-degree temperature zone, so recording what they encountered at 12,262 meters below the ground was impossible. However, some microphones and recording devices under certain protection shields could continue to record. In order to solve this mysterious event, scientists decided to lower a recording device to the bottom of the drill hole. But one day before the device was lowered underground, they were shocked again. The temperature had risen to 1,200 degrees, an incredible figure. When the recording device was removed, the scientists were in for an even bigger shock. In the recorded sounds, human screams, the voices of agonizing men and women were clearly audible. In fact, a powerful voice was heard, as if shouting threateningly to these tormented people. At the research center called Kola Deep Drilling, located 12,262 meters underground, these recordings were made. Years later, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they were revealed with the publication of archives that had been kept secret by the state. And here are the recordings known as hell sounds. The mystery does not end there. A few days after these sounds were recorded, Dmitry Azakov, a key official of the drilling, requested heat-resistant cameras used in space from government officials. A camera with a microphone was lowered deep into the well and recorded for an hour, however, before reaching the deepest point. Due to intense heat, the camera became inoperable. Those who were able to watch the footage before the camera malfunctioned reported seeing human silhouettes and constantly shifting light beams. What would they have encountered if the camera had not malfunctioned? When this situation was reported to Russian officials of the time, government leaders immediately ordered the end of the drilling and the abandonment of the site without any explanation. This massive center was evacuated within a day. A hidden hand had wanted it that way. Now, the most frightening parts of the story begin. First of all, it should be noted that the sounds recorded underground have been analyzed by many experts. And with the confirmation that the recordings were taken in their natural environment, some researchers suggested that these sounds could be coming from hell. Others responded that hell is still empty. However, in the afterlife, there is no time, since the concept of time applies only to earthly life. Therefore, if we consider the absence of time, both heaven and hell should be full right now. When Prophet Muhammad ascended to the heavens, he saw the inhabitants of both heaven and hell. However, the fact that these recordings were taken underground undermines this claim. Some researchers have explained that these could be sounds of plate movements underground. However, if that were the case, the sounds would have been rumbling or rustling noises, rather than threatening and alarming screams. The most interesting and scientifically supported claim is as follows: these could be the sounds of destroyed civilizations. Note that we are talking about civilizations that disappeared thousands of years ago. But how can this claim be scientifically supported? In the early 2000s, scientists made a discovery. The sounds of dinosaurs that became extinct millions of years ago have also been recorded in some substances found in nature. This can be called a miracle of nature. But the secret is that, just as the first sound recordings were made using magnetic tapes, some sticky substances found in nature that create the same effect as recording tapes can give us the same result. According to scientists, sound never disappears in nature, it continues to spread. And while these sounds were still spreading underground when these tribes were destroyed thousands of years ago, they could have coincidentally been captured by a layer in nature that can record sounds in some way. This idea is a scientifically consistent and explanatory one that can account for every detail. Of course, the claims are not limited to this. Some claim that these sounds belong to demonic entities that live in a place underground. The fact that dogs ran away from the construction site, devices malfunctioned, an incredibly high temperature was reached, and the Russian government ordered the immediate evacuation of the construction site suggests that something related to demons might be hidden. Some of the scientists and assistants who witnessed the incident don't remember anything about those days, as if their memories were erased by someone. The surprising aspect is that the Russian Secret Service, the KGB, was known to apply memory erasing techniques during those years. And while it was known worldwide that Sirhan, the young man who committed the assassination of American President Kennedy, was arrested at the scene of the crime and claimed to remember nothing except for a veiled woman looking at him. In other words, brainwashing experiments were already being conducted by both American and Russian intelligence services. Another claim related to this is that these sounds could belong to the ancient races living underground. Could civilizations that human beings have not yet known living underground have these sounds for any reason? Although it is an argument within the scope of the claim, there are many supporters of this explanation. Some researchers also claim that the sounds belong to the Gog and Magog tribe, who are said to have been closed off by a barrier underground in the Quran. It is said that there was a different community. Perhaps the Russian authorities ordered the drilling work to be quickly ended. Interestingly, after the drilling work ended in the 2000s, it was allowed to continue again by the state, but with one condition: not to go below 700 meters. It was already closed again after a certain time. The great secret is not yet over, where the deep drilling site is located, and the abandoned construction site today. Sometimes, some researchers come to the region to investigate the source of these sounds, which are sometimes called sounds from hell. The upper part of the well, which they called the big hole of the construction site, was dynamited and then sealed off. However, those who entered the buildings on the site or spent some time in the area have a common saying: "You can't enter with a dog. It will definitely get rid of you and run away from the site." At night, some sounds can be heard from inside the building, such as human commotion, chains, and the sound of construction equipment, as if the construction site is still in operation. The sounds of machines and workers can be heard. No human being can spend even a single night in such a place. It's as if ghosts or some kind of beings are present. The upper part of the pit, which they call the big hole of the construction site, was dynamited and closed afterwards. However, those who enter the buildings on the construction site or spend some time in the area have a common saying: "You cannot enter here with a dog. It will surely get rid of you and stay away from the construction site." At night, some sounds come from inside the building, such as human commotion, chains, and the sounds of construction machines, as if the construction site is still working. The sounds of machines and workers' movements can be heard. No one in this world can spend even a single night in such a place, as if there are ghosts or some entities present. Here, they have created their own life functions and they scare us by doing terrifying things when disturbed, in order to make people leave. The mystery of the Kola superdeep borehole, which has been waiting to be solved for over 25 years, has not been answered by any scientific community. Perhaps one day, Russia can explain these mysteries and secrets from its past and provide us with answers to the questions that arise in our minds. Let's not end the video without giving this information. All the scientists involved in the Kola superdeep borehole project resigned from their professions at the end of 1992. After hearing the audio recordings and seeing the mysterious images from the drilling. The scientist in charge of the project, Dr. Dmitry Azakov, only said one thing about the matter: what we saw there, a few of us will never forget and will never be able to share. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe.